Yo, yo, yo. Yo, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up? What's going on, y'all? How's everybody doing? Give me 1 second here. Let me check something. 1 second. All right, I'm back. So, what's going on, everybody? Oh, man. Got a lot going on. My bad for disappearing. I think I didn't do nothing last week, man. I had disappeared last week. I had some shit going on. Oh, man. It's starting to become wintertime here in Chicago, too. So, oh, man. Let's talk about a couple things, man. We got a little bit of time here, so we'll go on break out into it. As you guys know, Devin Haney is about to fight Brian Norman Jr. for the 147-pound welterweight title. That WBO belt. Brian Norman is thinking Devin Haney is food. I don't think Devin Haney is food. Hell, I don't even think Devin Haney is done. I think people think, because of the way he fought Jose Ramirez, he might be gun shy or shell shocked, right? And you know what, that might be the case, but I think in this fight against Brian Norman, I think Devin realized his back's against the wall, right? Devin has to look impressive in this fight. Now, impressive to me is he has to look like that old Devin Haney that was able to box your socks off, right? He has to look like that Devin Haney, that showed us that high ring IQ, that Devin Haney that people felt was going to be that, people felt he was going to be that next dude before he ran into Ryan Garcia and the steroids, right? So Devin's going to have to prove that he is that, he's back to being that guy, right? Funny thing about, guys like Devin Haney, actually funny thing period in boxing, you guys ever notice that when one demographic fighter, okay, you know what, the hell with it. You guys ever notice how when a black fighter loses, that's, what I'm saying, there's question marks around his career. Surrounding his career, but when other fighters lose, there ain't no question marks surrounding their career. It just isn't. You know what I'm saying? It really just isn't. And I don't know why. You know what I'm saying? And it's like that, man. And that's messed up. But he does need to look impressive against Brian Norman Jr. Now, like I said, impressive to me. He ain't got to go out there and go outside his character. All he got to do what you did when you fought Regis Prograis. You know what I'm saying? Go back to using that jab. Go back to boxing, being able to slide and use them angles. You know what I'm saying? Go back to that. You ain't got to go in there and go balls to walls. Like, I don't need you to do all that. I just need you to go back to being that dude that people looked at like, yo, man, that ring IQ, that boxing, the way he uses his jab and his range, man, that dude there is a monster. Like, that's what Devin needs to go back to doing. Go back to being that guy, man. Don't be nobody different than who you are, and don't allow people to make you be something you're not. But he does need to look impressive. Like I said, he needs to look good against Brian Norman Jr. He does. I know I seen some of the interviews, seem like he's letting, but some of the people saying the critics get to him. Don't do that, man. Don't do that. People always project on you what they can't do, so don't do that. Don't let that get to you, bro. All right. So next up, man, I'm gonna talk. We're going on, man. We're gonna go ahead and let it out. As you guys know, the Gervonta Tank Davis fight with Fake Paul. And yes, I said his name right, Fake Paul, has been canceled. Now, here's the thing, right? What's good, everybody out there? What's good with y'all coming in? Appreciate you. Here's my thing with that, right? There's a narrative around about trying to paint Fake Paul as if he's this defender of women. He's this dude who all of a sudden has this conscience and he's this defender of women. He can't ever be the defender of women. Why? Because he has been accused of sexual assault. So you can't, like once you've been accused of something like that. Now, mind you, he's never come out against this, or he's never even touched on this. But once it comes out that you have something like that attached to your name, then you can't ever say that you are the defender of women. That's number one. Right? Number two, if you such a defender of women, then why in the hell did you pick Tank Davis in the first place? Like, everybody knows about Tank Davis and his domestic issues. We all know about that. And they filed a civil suit. Let me say this again. A civil suit was filed against Tank, right? They just filed it. That means he could still have fought Jake Paul. He could still have fought fake Paul. That fight still could have happened. It's not like if something happened, he was gonna serve some jail time. You know what I'm saying? That's not how that was gonna go. But on top of that, at the end of the day, the fight just wasn't selling like it was supposed to. And that's really what it comes down to, is money. Because if that fight has been sold out, if that fight was making hellified money and had sold out and everything like that, they're not canceling that fight. They wouldn't cancel that fight. Why? Because Tank had a similar thing going on. He was about to fight Ryan Garcia. People remember that? People remember? Tank had a similar thing going on when he was about to fight Ryan Garcia. Well, in that situation, Tank had to actually go to court. And depending on what he was going to get, what they was going to hit him with at court, could have actually canceled the fight. But guess what? Did they cancel that fight? Nope. They let it play out in the system. They let all that stuff go through the courts and play out in the system, and then they proceeded with that fight. Why? Because Davis and Garcia made money. It sold out. Right? In this situation, this is a matter of, hey man, that fight wasn't selling. That's all. That's simply what it comes down. It always comes down to money at the end of the day. That's what it came down to. So them talking about some, Tank is a vile person. You had one, I think that guy Ariel Hawani. He's trying to sell it like, oh, they did the right thing. They trying to sell it like he's this white knight. No. First of all, if that's the case, why did you fight Mike Tyson? He has his own issues. He was convicted of it. So why did you fight Mike Tyson? You had no problem fighting Mike Tyson. So, and on top of that, like I said, he himself has been convicted. He himself has been accused of sexual assault. He himself had been accused of sexual assault. So at the end of the day, don't try to make it seem like, oh, the fight got canceled because of Tank. No, that's not why the fight got canceled. The fight got canceled because you motherfuckers weren't making no money. Because if that's what this was about, was Tank's, his abuse and all that, his issues with women and all that, you don't make this fight in the first place. You don't look to fight no Tank Davis in the first place. You don't go through having a press conference. You don't do any of that. You do none of that, if that's the case. But yet again, here's Paul, canceling a fight with a legit fighter, and then moving on. And that's the thing. And you know what's crazy? Is I saw the internet and I saw people pushing back on that narrative too. It was funny because I saw people who I didn't think I would see. They was pushing back on that narrative that fake Paul and his minions was trying to push out there. They was seriously pushing back on that, saying, hey, wait a minute. We all know there was a video out there when he grabbed that chick at that basketball game. We all remember that. Remember that one when he grabbed the girl at the basketball game? We remember that one. But on top of that, remember, there was another time when Tank had an issue with a woman, and turns out it was her. She was the one that was at fault. So instead of letting the system play out, they're going to talk about something, we canceling the fight. No. You're doing that because of money. That's what that is. At the end of the day, it's money. Because that's what it all comes down to. Let's keep that a bean. Everything comes down to money. Right? Now, Tank don't do himself no favors. Tank didn't do himself no favors. I think somebody was trying to say, well, Tank wasn't really helping when it came to promoting the fight. He wasn't talking. And then, when has Tank ever talked? When has Tank ever like go back to him and Rolly? The only thing he did with Rolly Romero was he jumped up and got in Rolly's face. That's it. But Tank don't do all that back and forth, and you know what I'm saying? He don't do all that. Tank has never done any of that. So, and I'm not a Tank. Listen, I'm not a Tank fan. I think this dude's resume is highly suspect to me. He hasn't fought anybody in his own division. He hasn't fought no top guy in his own division. He's never even looked at Unify. He's never done none of these things. So I ain't gonna sit and act like I'm a champion of Tank. No, I'm not. I ain't a champion of none of these fighters, but I'm definitely not a champion of his. But there's right and then there's wrong. And this situation right here is like, hold on, man. Don't try to make it seem like Tank's history of women is the reason why the fight ain't canceled. That shit has been known to people. You know what I'm saying? Exactly, Taylor. Tank promotes best when he don't speak. And for anybody out there, like I said, they want to question me saying, "Bo, I don't believe it was about money." Well, let me help you out. Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia. Tank actually had to go to court because he had some shit on him. Same situation. And did they cancel that fight? No. Why? Because that fight sold out. So they was waiting to see what was going to happen. Right? But this is the pattern. This is the pattern. I'm glad the fight didn't happen because, like I said, it would have legitimized Jake. It would have. It would legitimize Jake. Not to mention the fact, and listen, one particular reason why this fight probably didn't sell is because Tank Davis is 135 pounds. Jake is, Jake is fighting up there close to around 200 pounds. What weight was they gonna fight at? It was gonna, you know what I'm saying? What weight was they gonna fight at? This fight had disaster written all over from the start when it was signed. One reason was people was upset because they wanted to see Tank rematch Lamont Roach, which is what he should have done. Another reason was at this point, let's just be honest, man. After he fought Mike Tyson, nobody's really like his fights are not what they used to be anymore. And they're not. This man's fights, I never watched none of his fights, but at the end of his fights, you would hear some type of excitement, like when he knocked out Woodley or when he knocked out that basketball player. I can't remember the name, little short dude. You heard about that. I don't hear anything about his fights no more after his fights take place. I don't hear anything no more about him. So, like I said, hopefully this forces Tank Davis to, like I said, rematch Lamont Roach. You know, I hear Timothy Bradley up there talking about some, oh man, Tank, you blew $40 million. You blew $40 million because of your behavior. You know, and to me, Timothy needs to make up his mind. You didn't want the man to fight him in the first place. Now he blew $40 million. Like, make up your mind, bro. Like, damn. Make up your mind, bro. Make up your mind. You know? But, thank God though, man. Like I said, thank God that fight didn't happen. Thank you that fight got canceled. But like I said, I'm not surprised. I'm really not surprised because when you look, that like I said, man, that's kind of been Fake Paul's pattern. Now his next opponent, I guarantee you, his next opponent is going to be some weak ass MMA, or you know what I'm saying, or he's either going to pick a weak ass MMA or fighter or some weak ass boxer that because the only legit fighter he actually fought was Tommy Fury, and I don't even know if we can call him a legit fighter, but that's the one he actually fought and lost to him. So. Don't give me Ulysses Chavez Jr. Ulysses Chavez Jr. ain't been trash long before that, right? All right, man. Last but not least, brace yourselves. I know you guys saw Jerron Boots Ennis and Virgil Ortiz face to face after that fight. And props to Virgil Ortiz. He did what he was supposed to do, right? He got in there and he flatlined Erickson Lubin. Erickson Lubin shouldn't have been, is a guy who was done. And I often tell people, here's the thing that when we talk about Jerron Boots Ennis, he's heavily critiqued, than most fighters, right? And a lot of fighters who give fighters credit for certain names being on their resume, they don't want to give Ennis credit for names on his resume. So I remember saying that to somebody. I said, man, you look at Boots, the two top fights for Boots where he had to step up in class was Roman Villa and Stanionis. That's the equivalency of Boachuk, who fought Virgil Ortiz, and Majumov, right? Now, the thing with Majumov is because Terrence Crawford, in my honest opinion, because Terrence Crawford did not take that fight, like Terrence, he took it seriously, but he didn't take it like that, right? Like the Terrence that fought Canelo Alvarez, that's not the Terrence we saw fight Majumov. That was just him going through the motions. So because of that, and because he didn't go in there and dominate Majumov, everybody looked at Majumov like, oh my God, man, they looked at him and probably gave him more credit than he deserved. And Virgil Ortiz struggled against Majumov. But when you look at him, Stanionis, and you look at Majumov, skill set level and accomplishments level, they're on the same scale. Stanionis was a world champion at the time Boots beat him. Stanionis was a guy that people felt was hard to fight because of his fighting style. And then, of course, Majumov, right? Now, Boachuk, and then you take Villa. People don't like to give him credit for fighting Villa, but the reality was Villa beat back-to-back undefeated fighters who was considered contenders at that time. One of them was Janelle Figueroa Boca Chica, and I believe the other one was Rashidi Ellis. Right? Now, here's the thing, though. Virgil, in my opinion, he should have lost to Boychuk. Boychuk dropped him twice. Virgil should have lost to Boychuk. But Roman Villa got stopped and knocked out. The problem is, nobody wants to give Boots credit for either one of those two fights. They want to question it when I'm like, hey, man, they're on the same scale as, in my honest opinion, Virgil's two top fights. But here's the thing. So Oscar De La Hoya made a statement. And go to Three Kings Boxing. I talked about this. You guys notice Oscar De La Hoya made a statement. He said, Ortiz holds all the cards. Basically, he's saying that everything has to be in Ortiz's favor. If you guys go on Instagram, there's a post on Instagram. Go to the Zone Box on Instagram and look for a post that is pinned, and it'll say things got heated. And in that post is a comment by Virgil Ortiz's manager that says, if you don't send no shit that ain't got that has anything under 7 zeros. It won't even get looked at. So basically he's saying, if y'all send me a contract that's under 10 million, we're not even gonna look at it. When did Virgil Ortiz demand $10 million? So that to me tells me everything I need to know. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think this fight's gonna happen. I don't think this fight happens. And that's a shame. Don't be surprised. I'm just saying, do not be surprised if it don't happen. I mean, right now they could just be talking, right? But it don't look good when you have the promoter saying that Ortiz holds all the cards when I don't see how he holds all the cards when he's never been a world champion and has never fought for a title. Boots is a former unified welterweight champion. I believe he's an interim champion. Yeah, you're right. Boots is the WBA interim champion right now, if I'm not mistaken. He's the WBA interim champion. Two things Virgil Ortiz has never been. So how do Ortiz hold an advantage over him? Because what? Which one to say? Well, he sells out in Texas. Well, Boots sells out in Philadelphia. Next. Right? Now, Jerron needs Ortiz more than Ortiz needs Boots Ennis. He needs this fight. He really does. He needs it more than that because people are looking at him as that dude, and he needs that name on his resume. And I do believe that De La Hoya and them knows that. De La Hoya and them knows, hey, man, you need this dude on your resume. Like, you need this fight more than we need to fight. Because people are looking at you as if you're that guy. So you need this fight way more than we need this fight. And don't be surprised if that's something that they use against him in negotiations. Because like I said, they already laying the groundwork to set everything up to be like, oh, yep, fight gonna happen. You know, he didn't want to fight. But remember, like I said, his manager is talking about some, a contract with 7 zeros on it. So he's talking 10 million. And then you got Oscar telling everybody, man, everything, you know what I'm saying? Hey, everything got to be right for Ortiz, and he holds all the cards. When I heard that immediately when Oscar said that after the fight, I was like, man, nah. Not to mention, I'm hearing people telling me that there was, that there was members of Golden Boy that didn't want Jerron Ennis to go to Texas. They didn't want him to go to Texas. They was, they was urging him not to come. Right? So, and now let me say, I don't think Virgil Ortiz don't want to fight. I think Virgil Ortiz do want to fight, but you have to understand, at this point, Golden Boy really don't have anybody else. And that's just being honest. They don't really have anybody else. Why I don't believe they make the fight is they want to wait until there's a title on the line. They want to wait until one of these boys, if not both of them, win a title and make the fight, right? It's kind of the reason why, the fight with Williams and Zepeda, they waited that long to put him in there with Shakur Stevenson, okay? And that's what, and that's actually what I think is probably going to wind up happening. They're going to wait to either one of them or both of them get a title. This way, when they fight, the fight could be worth more money because they've invested a lot into Virgil Ortiz. And the reality is, we live in a market of boxing where with our fans, once a fighter takes that L, fans pretty much, fans pretty much toss him to the side and render him useless, that's crazy to me just because a fighter lost. But once a fighter takes that L, that fan supporting that backing goes away. Unless your name is Ryan Garcia, then the shit ain't gonna go nowhere. But, that's a whole different story. But yeah, pretty much that's what it is. But it's funny though how, how that is in the sport. Two top guys fight, somebody got to lose, but that don't mean that he can't come back. But he said stuff like this allows Dana White right in. Oh, hell yeah. Well, this is the reason why Dana White is getting in. This is the reason why Dana White's getting in. Because of stuff like this. But that's just the reality of it, man. It really is. So I'm just saying, I'm hoping I'm wrong, right? I'm hoping they do come together for the good of the sport. But Sergio Morta said it too. He said this is the best fight to make and without no belts on the line. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the problem. Big fights, they would like for belts to be on the line when big fights are made. When you get your two young bulls and you put them in that ring, you want for belts to be on the line because when there's something on the line, it's worth more money. And that's just the truth of it, man. It has to be worth something to them. It has to be worth them putting that, their guy that they've invested all this money in. It's got to be worth something. Like we got to get us a huge return on this investment. Because the climate we live in today with boxing fans, if he takes this L, he might be done. Right? He takes this L, man, he might be done. And then he got to go through like to build himself back up. See? So, we going to see, man. Like I said, hopefully I'm wrong, but I don't think so. I'm just telling y'all, brace yourselves, man. Get yourselves ready, man. Get yourselves ready for it. But, all right, man, you look here, man. That's going to do it for your boy. Like I said, man, it's going to be a little quick one. I'm definitely going to try to hit up another. Like I said, last week was just a tough week. A real tough week, right? How about them Cowboys? Yeah, man. And so the Bears came back and won that game. Man, crazy. They came back and won that game. Texas, woo, man, the Texans, that game was good. Hopefully CJ Stroud comes back soon, man. That game was good. That dude caught that interception. Stingley caught that damn interception with one hand that pulled it in. Woo, man. Told y'all football is your boys. Football's always been my first love. You know what I'm saying? Always has, always will be my first love, right? I've always been on football. Matter of fact, I should have put something in here for football because there was a lot of games yesterday. The Cleveland Browns continue to not want to play Shedeur Sanders. What can you do? What can you do? What can you do, man? What can you do? They continue to look terrible week after week after week. So there that is right there, right? But all right, man, I'm gonna get on up out of here, man. I will holler at you guys. I'm gonna see who I think we got a good game tonight. So I'm probably gonna talk to you guys a little bit later, man. Appreciate everybody being here. Yeah, I'm out.